Hi, for our Tune In Tuesday, Merida and I are going to talk about mentoring. With me is Dr. Merida Johns, and I'm so fortunate to have her on this Tune In Tuesday. Dr. Johns has been involved in HIM and HIM education for decades. She is past president of National AHIMA. She's been mentor to countless HIM professionals. She's written textbooks on technical aspects of HIM as well as leadership, particularly women's leadership. Her new role is authoring women's fiction. You can see behind her there her new novel, Black Horse Road. We're so fortunate to have her here today with us to share her points of view on coaching and mentoring. First, I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience with having a mentor. I had mentors when I was in high school, Gina Houchins, Debbie Smith, Debbie Paris. They all made an indelible mark upon me from the point of view of noticing things about me, noticing my strengths. And then as I grew into an HIM professional, Mary Lou Bates was the person who first taught me the ropes of being at an 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. job. And Ruth Cook, who is a former MOHIMA board member, I had the fortune of working with her as well in HIM. And she and I would talk at length about various things that were happening in HIM and how we felt about the things that perhaps regulations that were coming down the pike. Conversations like that, even though they're just conversations, can really be mentoring sessions. Through Ruth, I was able to have my first manager position in HIM, and she was a continual person of support to me as I assumed that role. And also I want to make sure that I mention the importance of mentoring. According to the AHIMA Code of Ethics, you know, it's imperative that we give back and in service to others. So not only is mentoring a great thing to use in a professional career, it's also a very rewarding and opportunity for learning for an individual to mentor someone else. So I have a few questions that I would like to ask Dr. Johns if she could share with us. And I think she has a few comments along the way as well. So Dr. Johns, when were you first mentored? Who were your mentors who had an impact on you, either while you were still a student or as an early HIM professional?
Okay, well, thanks, Kelly, and thanks for inviting me to chat with everybody today. First of all, the mentor, kind of, what is a mentor? What is the mentor's role? And so a mentor is really a person that helps you develop basically in your discipline. So that's how I'm going to use the term mentor. The mentor is primarily one of your biggest cheerleaders. And as you said, Kelly, before, you mentioned that your mentors could recognize something special in you. They recognized your strengths, and they really were supporting you in moving forward in your career and discipline. So the mentor has that type of a role, and a mentor can be, it can be an instructor. And frequently our best mentors or first mentors are our teachers, either in grade school or high school and into college. So in HIM, you might recall or think about how your instructors were really your mentors. So to get to your question about my mentors, early on in my career, it was my instructors at Seattle University. And interestingly, and something to be very, very cognizant of, is that a mentorship is a relationship with a person. So that is really, really important. It's not so much what you can get out or get from a person. You really have to think of mentorship as a two-way street. It's what you can get, but it's also what you can give. And so early on, it was Mary Alice Hankin and Kay Waters at Seattle University. And that mentorship has lasted. I graduated in 1973. That mentorship has lasted all these years with Mary Alice Hankin, and then another instructor was Gretchen Murphy. So it spans a long time, typically. Other mentorships or people who have mentored me have been other professionals in the field. It could be my colleagues when I worked at Ohio State, when I was a faculty member at Ohio State. I still have those strong mentorship relationships with colleagues of mine. When I was a new professional starting out as an assistant director of HIM, it was actually a director of medical records at another hospital, not at my hospital, but at another hospital, who was a mentor. So the mentor, it can be friends, it can be relations as well, but basically for your career, from a career perspective, it's probably going to be another professional. It may not even be in the field of HIM. It could be in a related field to HIM. But they're going to be principally there to help you develop in your discipline, in your field, and be there really to discuss, some issues, what do I do in this situation with this boss? Or do you have you ever experienced this kind of situation? And they'll be able to, help you and be your cheerleader. So that's a mentor role. I could give some other examples too of a mentor. As you mentioned, Kelly, I just, kind of switched. I still do women's leadership and HIM, but I'm also an author of women's fiction. And so an important mentor to me in doing women's fiction was my developmental editor. And so the developmental editor is a person who looks at your manuscript and goes through the manuscript with you and provides you with information about how you can improve. So that's an example outside of HIM, but really to kind of drive that point across is that a mentor is somebody there who can help you improve in your discipline.
I also had a mentor, an important mentor, in Dr. Johns. I remember when I met her and her husband, Russell, was at St. Scholastica in 2010 in the spring. I was there for my first on-site for my master's program, and she was our instructor for our database class that we took. Well, actually it was project management, but we created a database within that course. And I remember I volunteered to be the scribe to take notes in this kind of scenario that we were sort of playing through. And I said, sure, I'll be the scribe. And I proceeded to actually transcribe everything everyone said. And I remember I don't think she'd ever had a student do that before. So, I established a relationship with Dr. Johns during that time. It was a bit of a tumultuous time for me as a professional. And I remember her being so willing to listen to me as I was trying to keep all of the balls juggling in the air that were going on at that time and do the best that I could with each one. And then later when she created the Monarch Center and the women's leadership journey, I availed myself to take that training. I believe it'd be most effective to call it a training because it was, and the different ways that she used actions for the students that she was mentoring, for them to develop these specific habits, I guess you would say, from how we looked at situations and how we looked at ourselves. And I think in my own mentoring, that's what I try to do for people who reach out to me as well. And I see students who maybe have opportunity to reach out more. And I think that's one of the things that I wanted from this session for our Tune In Tuesday, was to have a resource that students could watch to think, what would mentoring mean to me? How would it benefit me? And so, Dr. Johns, could you just relate some benefits that you see people who have gone through the various programs that you've been involved with for mentoring and coaching, so that people who are watching this can kind of develop a picture of what that might mean to them?
Okay, so from a mentoring perspective, and well, three words or concepts I'd like maybe everybody to take away is, one, there's mentors, and then there's also coaches. And then a third thing that isn't often talked about is a sponsor. So let me kind of go through this with coaches, or mentors, coaches, and sponsors. Now, from the standpoint of a mentor, I mentioned for myself, I graduated way back in 1973, and my mentor was Mary Alice Henkin. Mary Alice then became president of AHIMA. And so in 1978, so I hadn't been in practice very long. I was a young practitioner, was only out for 5 years. I get a phone call from Mary Alice. And she says, Merida, how would you like to be on a national committee for AHIMA? A national committee. And so she had recognized my potential, what my strengths were. And as president of AHIMA, she was offering me this national position. And it happened to be on the item writing committee for the national exam. So I was 5 years out, and I was going to be on a committee that was actually going to be developing the examination questions for students taking the RHIA or RRA exam back then. So that gives you an idea of a mentorship, how a mentor can help with your career. So what did that do for me? Well, what it did for me, it propelled me into a national position. And from that national position, I kept getting additional and additional and additional national positions. And so finally, I ended up being president of AHIMA. I also worked at AHIMA, and I was vice president of over accreditation, certification, and research at AHIMA. So that kind of gives you an idea of how influential a mentor can be. On a local level, I mentioned to you that one of my mentors was the HIM director at another hospital. And so I was an assistant, just a brand new kid out of school. And that was 1973. And by 1975 or 1976, I was president of the local HIM association. And how did I get there? How did I do that? Part of it was this other woman, Jean Mitchell, who was director of HIM, and she happened to be the president of the local association. So 3 years later, I basically took her, or, I
Mhm.
rotated into her position. So those are some of the from a career perspective, the importance of really good mentors. The other thing is that if I had a problem, I mean, something maybe I'm not sure of how to deal with in my job as either assistant director or director of HIM, or later on when I was, working as a faculty member, I have lots of people I can just call up and tell them what the situation is and say, what's your take on this? Do you think I'm overreacting on this? Or do you have any advice? Or do you know somebody I can go to for additional information? Usually you're trying to get more information from your mentor, or at least in my experience, that has been how they've really facilitated my professional growth. So that's the mentor part. And then there's a coaching part. And the coach is it's a different role than a mentor. A mentor is, like I said, really helping you develop in your field, in your discipline. The coach is a professional person who is specifically trained in coaching to really help you identify what your vision is for yourself, your purpose, and your mission. And it's usually a paid type of relationship. A mentor relationship is usually not paid at all. It's a relationship, a personal relationship. But a coach is something different, and they keep you on schedule. They help you identify what your goals are, keep you on schedule, make you accountable for doing what you said you're going to be doing. So the coach and the mentor, I think, are both essential for your career progression. And I've happened to have both. And the coach, I highly recommend that with regards to helping you identify what your real purpose is, what your strengths are, what your vision, your career vision is, and even things like life balance, helping you to do that. So I don't know, Kelly, if that helped.
Yes.
I kind of went on
Yes.
and
Yes.
gave a lot of information.
Yeah. Could you talk a little bit about sponsors? Because I think that that's a really important role as well.
Okay. A sponsor is a person who may not be your mentor. And a lot of times your mentors are not your sponsors. So let me give you an example. Like maybe you're HIM professional and your teacher has been your mentor and your supervisor is your mentor. They're helping you and giving you information and helping you be better at being an HIM professional. A sponsor is a person who is going to really put their reputation on the line for you to recommend you for advancement in your career. So they're going to be different. A supervisor may not, they be helping you with information about, how to get better in your job. But they don't have the influence, and that's another really, really important part of the sponsor, is that they have influence within an organization. Usually it's within an organization, but it can be without. And they're putting their reputation on the line to advance your career. And I'll give you a specific example with myself. When I was at the University of Alabama at Birmingham, I was program director for a graduate program in health informatics. And I had a department chairperson who also saw my, my skills in being able to develop strategic information systems plans and doing a number of other things with regards to governance and management within the university. And so what he did he put his reputation on the line by promoting me to the president of the university. And what he was saying to the president, this is a person you need to look at to help you with, for the whole university, develop an information system strategic plan. Okay. So that was different than a mentor. He wasn't my mentor. He wasn't helping me develop in my HIM or HI, health informatics, but he was promoting me. The same thing happened at the Ohio State University when my dean of the School of Allied Health promoted me to the dean of the College of Medicine and said, this is a person really you need to have on your advisory committee for the whole College of Medicine. So, you say, well, what does the sponsor get out of that? Well, what the sponsor gets is you come through, your sponsor has gotten you up another notch and you do really good work. And that reflects really well on the sponsor. So that's the differences between, I think you can see the mentor, which is that real personal relationship, the coach, which is a relationship. It's not an emotional relationship as a mentorship might be, but it is independent relationship that helps you identify career goals, vision, and so forth, and holds you accountable. Usually it's paid. And then you have the sponsor who will put their reputation on the line for you.
I think that is an excellent description of different roles that I've experienced. So as I look back, some of these individuals might have had a different role than just what you would think of as a mentor. There have been people along the way that I would probably think have been coaching me. And I've sought out that type of relationship with them. And so, yes, I can see that. And I think this is really valuable, especially for students, and as equally great for our HIM professionals as well, to be aware of the ways that they can interact with the people around them in order to have kind of a healthy ecosystem for their career. So I am so happy that you joined me today. And I am sure that I will talk to you again soon. And our MOHEMA members, thank you from the bottoms of our hearts for helping us understand these roles and how we can apply them.
Okay, well, thanks so much, Kelly. And I would just say, kind of maybe 3 takeaways for folks is my experience in doing tons of mentoring and coaching and also sponsoring throughout my career is that, a coach or mentor or sponsor really can't solve your problems. Only you can. And so when you search out any one of these individuals, you need to be committed yourself to either improving with through the mentor or really going for specific goals for the coach. So that's one thing I would like to leave with you is that that's really important. And as I said, a mentorship is primarily a relationship, and it's a two-way street. You need to provide something to the mentor or to the sponsor, and they will provide back. But just going to try to get something is not it's not going to be successful. You're not going to be able to achieve much.
Yes.
And the third thing I would say is always to remember to say thank you. Thank you to your mentor. Thank you to your sponsor. Thank you to your coach. And that means not just a verbal thank you, but sometimes it means, yes, actually writing a thank you note.
Thank you. Thank you for mentioning that,
Yes.
because I talk to students about that, and you know, it's those times when you have, if you have misstepped, that's not the place where you want it to be. I speak from experience. So yeah, be very mindful of that acknowledgement, how the acknowledgement is delivered, and the importance of the acknowledgement.
Okay, so those are my three
Right.
takeaways, Kelly.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All
Bye-bye.
righty.